Rock and roll Chicago, rock and roll Chicago, my hometown. Well, I was born in the city, gonna rock the city, Chicago. Chicago rock and rollers are the best here around.
Hey, this is Paul Martin
and Ray the Roadie
for the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. What's up, Ray? I haven't talked to you in like a week.
I know it's been quite some time. Weather's changed. It's warm out. I got the pool open.
Yeah, I know. I was in Florida. I was in Key West.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to hear any more about Key West.
Nah.
The southernmost point of the United States of America.
Yes, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Did you buy a house?
No, but I looked at some.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I was
Sticker shock?
As I was driving down the street, I looked at them.
Oh. Yeah, they're not cheap down there.
No, but you know what I noticed on there? Every house has a wall around it.
Well, a wall or a fence.
A wall, like a wall or a fence. Even in the tightly packed neighborhoods, they have a wall or a fence or big hedges. And I figured it's to keep the hurricanes, some of the winds down, maybe.
Possibly. Maybe also because they don't own enough land to put in a moat.
Maybe they don't like their neighbors.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe it keeps the alligators out.
Yeah. I like I like all my neighbors. I shouldn't say that. There's a couple of them.
Love thy neighbor.
A couple of them I don't care for.
Hopefully they're not subscribers.
Well, if they are, God bless them. Good for them.
You know, I got a little sticker shock.
You did?
I opened up the pool. I was so happy, nice and clean. It's ready to go, and had to go buy some chlorine because, you can't run a pool without chlorine.
No, of course not.
I went to the store. I went to my usual store that I go to. Went in there and looking for my bucket of chlorine that I paid $80 for. But now I had heard that there might be a chlorine shortage, and so there may be a price increase. I'm like, okay. So I went and saw found the chlorine, and looked at the sign, and I thought it said $119.99. And I says, oh, $40. I'm like, wow. Oh yeah, it's $40. I need the chlorine. Got to go. So I brought it up there. Guy rang it up. I read the sign wrong. It was $199.99. It went up $120.
Wow, that's quite an increase.
Yeah. So this year, I'm sorry to say, like, if you come over or anybody else comes over to swim, I am charging a cover charge.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah,
I'll go swim somewhere else.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, liking thy neighbor.
That's right. Good thing we're not neighbors.
I tell you one guy I do like, and that's Greg Rapp, and that's who we're talking to today. Now, many of you may not know of Greg Rapp, but Greg Rapp is we've learned, is a go-to drummer. He's a go-to guy, and I met him years ago. Probably good 10, 12 years ago at least. But Greg's a great guy, and he's got some great stories about his drumming days and how he used to beat on the couch cushions.
Yeah, it's the first time I met Greg was this interview, and he's a really great guy, man. He's got some great stories, really interesting, some pretty funny.
Yes. So let's get to it and see what Greg has to say just about beating on those couch cushions, and so let's see what else he has to say.
So for your entertainment pleasure, we bring you Greg Rapp.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Today we're speaking with drummer extraordinaire and my good buddy Greg Rapp. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you guys for having me on. This is such an honor and a pleasure. Thank you. No,
it's our honor. It's our honor. Believe me.
Wow.
Okay. Just to start out, would it be fair to say we should name the bands that you haven't played with before, then to name the bands you do play with?
You're hilarious.
And to kind of eliminate some things. Right?
I mean, yeah. The way I kind of like to put it is like, I'm the guy they call when their guy gets sick. And like that, that's how, there's been a lot of situations like that. But I mean, I'm just very lucky that I played with the number of people that I have. The best part of that is the relationships I built through it.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if we can go through the whole thing if you want. I mean, far be it for me.
I mean, we first met obviously at the Blue Chip Casino. I was running sound. You were drumming with the Spaz or the Afros. I'm not sure which one.
One or the other, something like that.
Yeah, and of course, just became good buddies, and had a beer or two. I think
exactly.
There. But where did it all start for you? Let's go back to the young Greg Rapp.
Oh.
And how did you even get into playing music?
I was thinking about going a little bit further back,
please.
In time. Was it cloth diapers or Pampers?
No, not that far back.
Okay,
but not well. So I was probably probably about 12 or 13 years old, and it's funny. Like I've never talked about this. I was sitting in my parents' 1977 Caprice Classic station wagon on the corner of Willow and Arlington Heights Road. Specific enough for you?
Okay.
Where I heard something, and it's so weird that this goes this way. Like I heard bat, bat, bat. I'm like, anybody can do this. I was like 12 years old. So I started watching the drummers on like MTV and stuff. I was like, well, okay. And then, they do this, the right hand crosses over. Okay, cool. I'm like, well, I can probably do that. Okay. So I did, what we all do, the pots and pans. Really for me, it was couch cushions. I set them up, tore the cushions off the couch, put them around. But the weird thing was that I did it lefty because I saw yours in the reverse.
Oh, yeah.
A mirror image.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm like, my first band that I was ever into was Hugh.
Kind of like Phil Mickelson did with his. Actually, he's out of lefty. I guess he's a righty.
Yeah, I'm naturally right-handed.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I watched the mirror image. I'm like,
sure.
Well, okay, they're doing this. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So I literally learned lefty, and my first band I was ever into was Huey Lewis and the News, and talk about basic rock, pop, part drumming. There's not a better way to start. So I went to my first drum lesson when I was like, and I've been playing for like 2 or 3 years, like, setting up the couch cushions the wrong way. And like, I had dowel rods. I couldn't afford drumsticks. So I bought dowel rods and I cut them, and I'm such a dork. It's crazy. And I filed them down to like make tips on them and stuff.
Right.
Oh my God. So, but I knew every Huey Lewis song from Sports, Picture This. Can't remember the one before. So I knew all those songs. That was and then when I was 14, 15, my dad bought me a boombox for Christmas one year.
With the cassette player.
Exactly. And I got Sports, and I got the soundtrack to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Okay.
So John Williams.
All right, right.
So it was like pop, and then like I'm a huge Star Wars guy.
Right,
so
right.
John Williams, know all that. So it was a hybrid of like, and then I knew every song on the radio from 1986, 87, 88. I would make mixtapes. And from there, I guess I found Pink Floyd. I found Metallica. Love that. But playing it all lefty, going through it. And then I found Rush. And that changed my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I became a huge Rush guy at that point.
But now you don't play lefty.
No. Well, yes and no. I don't play like the kit. So, all right. So the story about that. So I went through music school that way. Cut to, high school. I played all lefty this way. Went to music school at Musicians Institute in LA.
Okay.
Did that. And they had lefty and righty drum sets. So Joe Porcaro, Jeff Porcaro's father, was one of the main instructors out there. I came home and I tried to sit in with people, and it was like, wait, how do I
You're
do
not
this?
confusing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, I have to make a decision. If I'm going to sit in with people, I need to be able to do this. So I turned my whole kit around and I led lefty like this, left hand ride cymbal, left hand hi-hat, Carter Beauford, Simon Phillips-ish, and retrain my feet. So that made
Right, because now your left foot is hi-hat rather than
exactly. So now I play a right-handed kit, and I play a lot righty. I've switched my whole kit around to like normal, but I still play a lot this way, with the left hand on the hi-hat, because what that allows me to do, especially in this time, is I can run all my electronics right-handed while I play drums lefty, which for me, doing the gigs I do is really important because a lot of what I do is running electronics, running Ableton, things like that. So I can play and I can call up tunes. I can talk on a talkback. I can do whatever I need to do while I play drums.
Well, so you could probably sit down on a left-handed kit and probably pick it up pretty quickly.
It's so funny. So going back like 2 or 3 years, I was going to buy a kit at the Chicago Drum Show, but it was set up lefty and I missed out on it. I didn't buy it. I missed out. I posted a picture of it. And it was lefty set up, and everybody was like, "Well, you can't play lefty." I'm like,
"Yes, I can."
Maybe, So it's been something I've been toying with. I did you talk about the number of gigs. It's like, and just different gigs. I did a goth metal tour back in. What am I? I'm 47 now. I was 40. So do the math. I played with a band called Fashion Bomb. Tom Murray, he's the drummer in Lateralus, the Tool cover band.
Okay.
And then Aziola Cry and another band, Siberium, the original thing. He was scheduled to do the tour and he couldn't do it. So they called me. It's another one of these things where like last second, they like, can you learn these songs? Can you? Yeah. So I showed up at Reggie's. We were playing with 3 bands. The headliner was lefty and played a lefty drum set. So that first gig at Reggie's, we switched the drum set around and it was a train wreck. It was just so much work. It was just so bad. And Beth, my wife, that she's like, why don't you just play lefty? Oh, I haven't done that in and I'm playing like really fast blast beat, crazy kind of click track in the ears kind of stuff. So, I did it that way. So Rich was teasing me the other day. You can't do it lefty. I'm like, well, I can go in the studio. I should probably refresh those chops. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Give me a day or two and I could probably do it, right?
Oh, I had like 4 hours.
Oh, well, yeah.
When I was on tour.
Right.
The ambidexterity thing has been very useful in my playing. So, I did it with Spaz. I did it, I always run my computer stuff on my right-hand side. A lot of guys run it on their left-hand side because they can play and still make things happen.
Right.
I'm more comfortable personally having it open grip and then running everything off my right-hand side.
Right.
But your listeners aren't getting video, so.
Right. Well, yeah. But
this is a theater of the mind.
That's right. Theater.
Exactly. Expand, if you will.
Now, going back to your youth and to your high school days, tell us a little bit about your first band that you were in.
Oh my goodness, my first band was a Van Halen cover band with no singer. Everybody laughed.
Just guitar?
Please, no, it was guitar, bass, keyboards, no singer. It's the OU 812 era. If one will. Oh man. Yeah, it was. There's pictures. Thank God there's no audio. Holy crap. But shortly thereafter, I moved forward. I met a guy named Chris Siebold, who is a good friend of mine. Amazing guitar player. Good Lord. And he changed my life. He introduced me to Alan Holdsworth and Frank Zappa. And those 2 guitar players, it was like mind blown. And I spent the next till now going through their catalog and trying to assimilate the genius that is that. But yeah, I mean, I met Chris and my wife Beth at the same time, November 1990, and at the variety show. And I didn't know Beth would go on to be my wife, but
Yeah.
Here we are all these years later. But playing wise, yeah, that made a huge difference for me. Just being exposed to, Chick Corea, Alan Holdsworth, Frank Zappa, all the fusion stuff. I really got deep into that. And just after that, I went to California and I signed up at Musicians Institute and did that for a year.
All right, well, you mentioned that you went there to California, and what year was that?
That was 93.
Okay, and you only went for 1 year?
Yeah, it's a 1-year program. At least it was at that point.
Oh, okay.
I did that. I came home. I didn't really know that there were multiple ways to make a living as a musician. I didn't know that you could job or that you could play. For those who don't know, jobbing is like playing weddings, playing corporate events,
Right.
things like that, or like playing at the Blue Chip Casino,
Right.
that kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing. I didn't know that was a thing. So I worked at an auto parts store. I worked at Track Auto. So I did that for a while. And then I actually ended up moving back to LA in 1996 to quote unquote make my living as a musician, which means quote unquote go in debt $35,000 to your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that. And when I came home,
So how'd it go in LA?
the second time, rough, really hard.
How long were you there?
I did a year, the first time, a year, the second time.
Okay.
And when I came home,
But the first time you're going to school, right?
right. So it wasn't like trying to.
The second time you were trying to find gigs, right?
Yeah, and I played some gigs and I did some things, but I came home really with my tail between my legs. I really did, and quite honestly, I went, well, guess music isn't going to work. What am I going to do? I got to figure something. So my dad was good at computers. I'm like, the Harper, the local community college down here. I'll go there. I'll just take computers. My dad's good at computers. I'll do computers. Same time, a guy named Jim Strike called me from the drum pad where I chopped for years before. He's like, we have an opening. Would you be interested? I'm like, yeah, totally. I need part-time income. I was living with my folks. So I went there, and that was
a salesman or as a teacher?
Originally as a salesman, like me and Victor Salazar, whose birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Victor.
Happy birthday, Victor.
Everybody knows Victor. So I did it as a salesman at first. And then after that, he said, hey, there's a teaching position available. Would you like to do that? I'm like, yes, I have the MI thing. So I did that for the next 10 years.
So you not to interrupt you, but
No,
but you never were taught. You learned drums by hitting your couch cushions.
oh yeah.
But then you went to school for
I
it.
didn't have any formal lessons. I had a little bit here and there. I had
But the schooling in LA you did, right?
Yeah. And that was a thing. It's interesting, man, education and that kind of stuff. I've been a part of it for so long. I'm 47 now. I had very little of it when I started. Wish I had more. It's, that early part of my life, I had a drum teacher at a store in Buffalo Grove, Illinois, and I had no drums. I was so into it. I had the couch cushion. I'm like, I was so passionate. I want to play drums. This is what I want to do. My mom took me to the store. She didn't know better. And this guy there, he had to be, I don't know, I can't even guess at this point, 20s, mid 20s, frustrated classical guy. He's and you took lessons on a practice pad kit. I don't know if your listeners know what practice pads are,
Sure.
but they're like, that's what you do when you don't want to make a lot of noise.
Right.
So, and it's like, this isn't drums. This isn't Huey Lewis. This isn't Metallica. And they're backwards. Duh.
Yeah.
And he was the gateway to getting me a drum set. He was like, hey, I'm like, Mom, I want drums so bad. Oh my God, Mom, I want drums so bad. And if your drum teacher says it's okay, we'll do that. Cool. He asked the drum teacher, he's like, I think with 3 or 4 more years of lessons, he'll be fine. It crushed me. I was like, I'm done. I'm just no more lessons. I'm going to listen to Neil Peart. I'm going to listen to Lars Ulrich. I'm going to listen to every song on the radio. I'm going to play every Def Leppard tune, every Poison tune, every Celine Dion song and everything that was on the radio in like 1987, 88, 89. It's a complicated thing. I wish I had more formal education at an earlier age, but I'm kind of glad that I did the work I did and got into music and bands, instead of just drums. But here I am. So there you go.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the difference between a guitar player and a drummer. A drummer can beat under couch cushions or on pots and pans, which we've talked to a lot of drummers who started out that way.
Oh yeah.
But who was it who told us? Mike Arturi from the Love and Spoonful said he still has the pots and pans that his grandmother gave him that he used to beat on. And
so cool.
But a guitar player, I guess you had to have a guitar in order to play.
Yeah, it's a different thing. It really is a different aesthetic.
Or a keyboard player or whatever.
Right. It's, or a horn player. You have armature and like all that. Like drums are have the least entrance. You go boom, you go bam, you make a sound. That's cool. But as you get better at it and you learn the subtleties of it. But it is a true thing. Like, to be a guitar player, to be a bass player, to be a keyboard player, to be a horn player, it's a lot higher curve to enter into music, but not to downplay it. It is as easy as the on-ramp is, keeping it there and like learning the subtleties of it. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of work.
Right. Well, that's what I always kid my drummer. I says, you hit the snare on a 2 and a 4 and you're good. Right?
I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, just go boom and bam.
Yeah.
but it's funny. Like, post-pandemic, going back to work, not to fast forward, 35 years. I did a lot of work during the pandemic. I practiced really hard. I knew it looked like I was going to have a lot of time on my hands. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this productively. So I really practiced hard and I got into a lot of things. And now we're back, I've done 8-10 gigs, since end of April. All that practicing has totally paid off.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm composing more when I play, and I'm playing it like what I'm doing right now is the same thing I was doing in Spaz or Afros. I'm doing Jesse's Girl. I'm doing Summer '69. I'm doing Don't Stop Believing. I'm doing, jobbing. I play in a Maggie Speaks band called Shout Out. It's fantastic, great players. But I feel like it's stepped my game up to another level. Getting to the education thing like that, you put in the time, it really makes a difference.
So now can you read music or do you read drum charts?
Yeah, I read music. I learned somewhat in school, but really much more through, like you mentioned, all the bands, all the subbing things. That makes and it's not always like, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, though that's important. But it's really form charts, like how many bars of the verse, how many bars of the chorus, things like that. It's funny that I feel like that whole thing came to a culmination last year, right before shutdown. So, Chris Hagen from 16 Candles.
Yeah.
So literally Chris was at my house today He runs a duck cleaning service.
Oh, okay.
And
ducks like quack quack or
I had some, so he got them out. That was really awesome of him.
okay.
I mean,
That's what I thought I heard.
When you know a guy, you get a guy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Chris is, in one of the top cover bands in Chicago, 16 Candles.
Sure.
They're just, and every time I see him, I get to hang out and sit in with them and stuff. They're awesome.
Put in a good word for us, will you?
I absolutely will. Yeah, totally. I saw him today. He was in this room, heard everything scraping down there. But in February 15th last year, something like that, I was laying in bed. It's at 11:30 in the morning, and I got a text message from him going, "Hey man, 911, what are you doing?" I was like, "Wow." I'm like, oh my God, I'm playing with 16 Candles tonight. How am I going to work this out? Oh Lord, how much? So he hits me up. He's like, "Hey man, the band Steelheart. You remember them?"
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
80s hair metal. They had a couple big hits.
Okay.
They're playing at the Arcada tonight. Their drummer is sick and can't get out of bed. Their sub is in Florida and can't catch a flight. What are you doing?
Oh, wow.
It's 11:30. I had a gig the night before. I'm literally in my bathrobe, and I'm like, "Oh shit, dude." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "How many songs can you learn? How fast can you learn them?"
Yeah. Wow.
I'm like, it's the one song with the guy that sings real high, right? Angel Eyes. Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, how many songs do I have to learn? I don't know. I'm like, dude, have management call me. Let's figure this out. So management calls me and they're like, can you learn 6 tunes? 6, 7 tunes. I'm like, probably. By when? It's 11:45. I'm standing right there in the doorway with my robot. So sound checks at 4.
Wow.
Okay.
In downtown Chicago.
No, St. Charles.
Oh, in St. Charles.
The
Okay.
Arcada. So it's an hour.
Oh, the Arcada, right. All right.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, send me whatever you can send me. They're like, you're so helping us out. Whatever you can do, great. And then the guitar player calls me. He's like, "Hey man, you cool?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm cool. Got it." Here's all the stuff. Stuff starts coming in via Dropbox, and I just have to go to work. And I go to Beth. I'm like, "This is happening." She's like, "Holy shit, this is happening."
Wow.
And I literally sat here with music paper and not a punnet chart because I'm doing biology, just charting the stuff out. And I would literally chart a song out, go to the drum set and play it. And that's all the time I had. Once here, once there, come back, learn the next song, come back, learn the next song. So I did that. Beth, meanwhile, God bless her, goes online, finds her last 5 set lists, gets my clothes ready, gets everything done, makes me a sandwich so I can maybe have carbohydrates and eat.
That Beth's a good girl, isn't she? She's a sweetheart. I
am humbled to be a part of any of this, for God's sakes. So, so 2:30, we gotta go. We gotta go. I'm like, shit, I'm not done. Wait, hold on. I gotta I'm literally writing it out as we get in the car. I get a text message from the guitar player. "Hey, that version we sent you, that's the studio. Here's the live version."
Oh man.
So literally, we're driving down the road, car bumping. I have a chart in my hand, the radio on, trying to transcribe this live version. So I get there. I mean, this is taking more time, but so I get to Arcada. They've got backline. We're opening for Firehouse.
Okay. Sure.
Super nice guys.
Yeah.
Super cool. They got a drum set for me. They got cymbals, the text there. He's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I don't know. What do you got?" He's got, "I got 3 up, 2 down, whatever." I'm like, "Give me 1 up, 2 down, all the cymbals." Cool. Great. And I help him set it up. And the guitar player walks in. He's like, "Hey man, you cool?" I'm like, "I think so." Yeah, cool. Bass player walks in. So the bass player was a sub 2. Kevin Chown. Kevin plays with Sebastian Bach normally. Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
He played with Chad Wackerman, who's played with, Frank Zappa, Ellen Holdsworth, Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
And this is the guy who's on like the hair metal gig with me. That's hilarious. So it's one of those things where you just get thrown in it. So, and they're like, hey man, it's cool. We'll run all the tunes at sound check. Sound check is a disaster. Like you can't get it dialed in. Everything's not working. So I had the chance to play 8 bars of one song with them before we had to cut. And we're like, no, you got to go downstairs. Okay. So I went downstairs and I went with Kevin and Joe, the guitar player and bass player. And I went through the live versions of the tunes with my charts, handwritten. And they're like, oh no, we don't do that there. We do this here. We do this, that. We do that 3 times, not 4.
Okay.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, okay. And I'm writing it down. Meanwhile, they cut the opener. So we're going on sooner. And I literally had 8 minutes before I went on stage, once I finished charting everything out, to go on and play in front of 1,000 people.
Wow.
And you know what?
I'm sure you knocked it out of the park, right?
It went great.
That's cool.
It did. It is the culmination of everything I've learned through all these gigs, through the spaz stuff and the Afro stuff. If I wouldn't have done that, I don't think I could have done that. All the charting, all the reading. Like when I was doing those spaz and Afros gigs with you,
Right.
I have little cue cards over here. Like for all the arrangements, that's hard, man. Like Ray Luzier from Korn does those gigs. It's, he's a part of PWE. Like that's not like everybody kind of downplays the cover band thing to some degree. It's,
Well, it's not as easy as it's not.
you separate the wheat from the chaff.
Right.
That's so yeah, the Steelheart thing was an absolute blast. And
I mean, you mentioned earlier, like playing Jesse's Girl or Summer '69.
right.
But each band may play it just a little bit different. I mean, they may play that, do this part before they do that part or something.
So, dude, this is like the ultimate of that kind of thing. So we're back post-pandemic, and I've played that song. Oh shit, I don't know, 7-8 times in the last 2 weeks, something like that.
Okay.
And the guitar player. So that guitar solo from Jesse's Girl,
Right.
it's a thing that has to be played. Like it is a composition. It is a through written part.
Right.
So all the guitar players I've done it with, they told me like before, like, oh, I don't know if I shedded that enough. And I'm not joking, 58.2% of the time they tank it. Halfway through, about bar 4, I think it's an 8-bar solo. Bar 4, everything just goes to hell in a handbasket, and I laugh and I get to the talk back and I give them shit. But it's a thing, man. Like the cover band thing is, the original thing is, and I'm not as well versed. I play an original band. I play in Nomadic Horizon, but the cover band thing is where I've really spent a lot of my time. And there's an aesthetic there and an appreciation of the gig and just getting the job done in business and like, showing up, doing a good job. That's, you've seen it all the time there at Blue Chip,
Sure.
And you see the bands that get that gig and the bands that don't.
Right.
What's your experience with that? Like, as a sound guy.
Well, I mean, to be quite honest with you, a drummer to me, is the guy who drives the bus. And when the drummer's on and he's driving the whole rig and he's pushing the band. That's what I appreciate about you, is that you always seem like you came in with confidence. You come in with confidence and you do your job.
It's a big thing. It really is. It's a, I'm taking lessons to this day. I have a drum lesson tomorrow with one of my good friends, Tom Hipskin. And we talk about that, at this point in my career, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not about playing a faster paradiddle. It's about the mental game of playing. It's about where do you place your backbeat? It's funny. Me and Tom have been working on Steely Dan tunes.
Okay.
So I played Black Cow, bam, 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 pocket all day long. I recorded myself playing it. I have my studio over here and I recorded myself playing it with it. And I noticed, I've been playing drums how many years, whatever. And, I do what I do. But I noticed when I recorded it. I look back at, and when you're recording, you can look at a grid and you can see where you line up with whatever. That my fills rushed just a little bit. And a big thing that I noticed was that my backbeat on beat 2, after I played a fill, back boom, bagadoom, boom, bat. That first backbeat on beat 2, just a little bit late. Just a little bit, almost consistently late. You know, it's that little kind of thing that the good from great.
It's paying attention to the details, right?
Exactly. And especially like doing studio work. Like during the pandemic, that's been a huge thing. Like March, April last year, everything got shut down. So it was like, well, you know, what do we do? I got all this time on my hands. Well, I went back to school. I practiced a whole lot. You know, I worked out a whole lot. That's one thing that I really appreciate was like the details of my craft.
Right.
And hooking up with somebody like Tom, who was the drummer in Hamilton in Chicago, who's been one of my best friends for 25, 30 years now. I mean, he's played with Patricia Barber. He's done Hamilton. He can play anything. He's just ridiculous. When I get together with lessons with him, it's not, you know, like I said, playing a faster parallel. It's not like just, you know, mechanics. It's the inner game of music. Right. And that's what really makes the difference for me.
Let's take a time out here for a second.
This is Paul Martin
and Ray the Roadie, and we're here to talk to you about GHS strings.
That's right, Ray. Whether you play electric guitar, acoustic, or bass,
or even banjo, mandolin, or ukulele, then GHS has the strings for you.
GHS strings are easy to play with a rich, full balanced tone available in many different gauges.
Great for all musical styles. So if you play
with the best. Play GHS strings.
So who are you playing with now? Who are you still playing with Shout Out?
I am. So yeah, I am playing with Shout Out. We just did a whole stint of gigs at Great Flags. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Good Lord. Great America. Sorry. Great America. So much fun. So cool. We met a bunch of great people up there. So that went really well. And I have a wedding this Saturday at Little Goat. And a whole bunch of, you know, there's a bunch of weddings, a bunch of Park District things. I'm doing that. Sucker Punch is still going strong.
Now, Sucker Punch is a cover band?
Yeah. So it's me, Chris Ricardo, Mark Conzen, and Jen Cundiff. And that was kind of an out of nowhere thing that came together. It's been 2 years now we've been together. I went to see Jen and Mark had an acoustic thing, and they were playing at a Potato Creek Johnny's, little bar down the street from us. And I came out, and after the gig, I'm like, hey, if you ever want a drummer, you know, I kind of could do some. And they're like,
I don't have enough work, right?
but like they seem fun, and they seem like a hang. Right. And that's so important. So they had a gig and we made a band out of it. And it's a lot of fun. It's all the cover stuff. Jen Cundiff is just a force of nature. Our lead singer.
Why do I know that name?
So she was in, oh boy, you know, gonna break my mind here. Oh God, she's been in a couple different cover bands. Can't remember off the top of my head. Like the first gig we ever did, she like wireless mic up on the bar, around the bar, backwards, forward, sideways. She's the ultimate front person.
Yeah. So
talented. And it's just a fun band. You know, it's something different from the either Nomadic Horizon, which I do, which is amazing. Me and Tom Hesselin and Chuck Bontrager.
Too many voices whisper in my ear, telling me just what I want to hear. Feeding ego, feeding pride. Go to the other side. And something's creeping up my bones.
which is more fusiony and a lot more,
And that's all original stuff, right?
Yeah, it's all original. It's a lot headier. And then there's a shout out thing, which is great, but it's a lot more me running computers and running Ableton and doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
Sucker Punch is just fun.
Right.
It's just a break from all that. So
that's cool. So you're not doing anything with the Afros or Spaz anymore, right?
No, I haven't.
Have you talked to Andrew or any of those guys?
I have talked to Andrew a bunch.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Okay.
I mean, do you know my history with Andrew?
No.
All right. Buckle in, big guy. Here we go. All right. So
you are a history buff, aren't you?
Yeah. We're not going to World War I. We're not going to Assyria, 1243 BC. But so I met Andrew in 1998.
Yeah.
I was referred by Chris Myers, who's the drummer in Humphreys McGee and Kick the Cat now. And I started playing in a cover band called Decades. And it was me, Andrew, and Tyler Holcomb, who I think is still in High Infidelity, if I'm doing my math right.
Okay.
And we were a trio. Like, I showed up, the first cover band I ever really played in, they sent me a set list. I showed up in Tyler's basement. They had spent $30,000 on production.
Wow.
In 1998. So we were running ADATs for tracks,
right?
VHS tapes programmed with all that stuff.
Wow.
So I showed up in Tyler's basement in Palatine, and it was like, here's a set list, smoke, mirrors, like fog. It was crazy. It was like doing a gig, and we went through all the songs. And me and Andrew and Tyler did Decades for 2 or 3 years.
And Andrew play guitar?
Andrew played guitar. Guy played bass, and a lot of tracks. So after that, we got Guy Dominic involved. Guy was in, I think,
Guy Dominic.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Okay,
yes.
I know Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Guy too, and he's a super talented guy.
Absolutely.
Like me and Guy have a huge fusion hang. Like anytime we talk about Toto or like Los Lobotomies, like really far out dorky fusion stuff like that. Yeah, Guy's the guy to hang with. So
he had to crash. He had to crash at my cabin that I had out there in up on the lakefront in Michigan.
Jim.
Well, yeah, with Jim. Yes.
Right.
Yes, and he had to crash it because he got too liquored up one night. So I said, "Dude, you are not driving back Chicago."
Oh my God, was this at the Chip?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, it's so fun. I mean, there, but for the grace of God, and tonight go I. So I mean, I'm not judging in the least. Guy is super talented. I mean,
oh yeah, very good.
Plays guitar like a beast. Plays keyboards like a beast. So Decades happened, and then that kind of petered out, went its own way. I think Andrew went into Infinity. I think Tyler went into Hairbangers at that point.
Okay.
And I started working with Deja Vu, Chris DePinto's band.
Oh yeah, okay.
Doing playing percussion and like doing that kind of stuff. And then this is another one of those gigs. That's how this thing always works. I get a phone call last minute. Andrew calls me out of nowhere. I haven't talked to the guy in like 2 or 3 years. He's like, "Hey man, I have a gig in in a cornfield somewhere, somewhere way south of where I am. And then we're playing another gig somewhere else. Here's a set list. Can you do it?"
Yeah.
And that's the story of my life.
So I was going to say, so what we've learned today is that if you need a drummer last minute, you're the guy. You're the guy to go to. You're the go-to guy, right?
I don't know, dude.
Greg Rapp.
I'm very. I'm humbled to be that guy, and like, it's funny. I was talking to a friend today. Like, so much. I miss playing. I missed all that stuff during lockdown. I missed gigs. I missed.
Oh yeah, we all did.
Yeah, but you know what I missed? I missed hangs. I missed relationships.
Sure.
And coming back.
Well, that's all part of it,
right? But that's the biggest part for me. I play with who I play with. I do what I do, and it's a thing, and it is what it is. What I treasure more and more, especially as I get older, are the relationships. that I built. You know, the guys in Steelheart, I still text them every now and then.
Yeah.
You know, when Sebastian Bach comes to town, I'll go hang out with Kevin. And when Joe comes to town with something like all the cover band stuff, I'm such a fan of that community and so lucky to be a part of it. I really am. I mean, it's so cool that I get the calls and like that I can do what I do and it's fine, whatever. But like all the people in that scene, you know, Gerald Guzman, right? Gerald Guzman. So Gerald, played in Lava Rock and like all that stuff.
Right.
Did Hyperflow and all that. Him and Camille just got married out in Vegas, you know, and his brother Gary works at Sonosphere. So Beth and I had a night off last Friday. We went to Woodridge Bar, something like that up north of us. And we saw Gerald and Camille and we got to hang out with them. And Beth bought a wedding present for them and they came and we hung. And then Rob Benke showed up, who was part of Lava Rock and is now doing Pandemonium and a whole bunch of other things. And it's the same thing as running into you.
Yeah.
At the Cover 21 thing, like, that's what I dig. You know, we do what we do. I play what I play. And, you know, it's an aesthetic and it's a way to approach work, but it's the relationships. To me, that's what it's all about.
Right. It absolutely is. It's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to have those relationships.
Dude, it's so fun to like walk into a bar and like, hey, I know that guy. And I did a jobbing gig last Saturday. I did a wedding at Ovation downtown, which I'd never been to before. And I walked in and I saw a sign on the door that said Style Matters. I'm like, wait, I walked in and it was this guy, Spencer Stiles, who I did some drum and DJ gigs with. And he told me, 6 years ago, something like that, he was building a venue. I was playing in his venue that night. He was there and got to hook up with him and reconnect and see all the Maggie Speaks people. And yeah, man, that's, I love that I get those calls, that last minute thing. I've got it with Wedding Band. I've done it with Mike and Joe. I've done it with like a bunch of the bands. Right.
Well, I know I'm more of a South Side guy, but now getting to know you and getting to know some of the other bands that I worked with, get the communication and just that camaraderie, that
makes all the difference.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what matters to me, especially as I get older. It's like, we do what we do, but like having friends, the fact that Chris Hagen came over today and like did my ducks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that, Aaron Strike and like, Frankie Harchut, who's doing the Seventh Heaven gig now.
Frankie's a great drummer too.
So Frankie is dating Selena, the singer in Shout Out.
Oh, okay.
And so we did a Great America thing. He came out, me, him and Selena sat in a hot tub outside and back until 3 a.m. the other day. He is so talented.
He's great. Yeah.
He's just a motherfucker. Yeah. Dude, Frankie showed up at my gigs with a practice pad and sat in front of me for like 6 hours working on hand stuff while I was doing my gig. And I'm like, dude, this guy. Yeah. He's so good. And I'm so happy he's got that gig. Could not pick a nicer soul in the world.
So how do people find out where you're playing or what you're doing? Or do you have a website or Facebook for Sucker Punch? Or
the best way is probably through Facebook. Just find me on Facebook, Facebook or Instagram.
Greg Rapp, RAPP, right?
Exactly. Find me there, and I normally post my gigs a little bit in advance and stuff like that. I'm part of Shout Out. So it's shoutoutband.com, Nomadic Horizon. You search that. I'm sure we have a website somewhere. Sucker Punch, suckerpunchrocks.com, I believe is our website. Okay. And then, really through Facebook or Instagram is where I normally spread whatever craziness I'm being a part of.
Well, it's been great talking with you, Greg. And it's good to hook up again and see you again. And I can't wait till I get out and see you. And maybe we could have a beer together.
Well, you know what? I'm going to come to Indiana and I will find you and we will hook up and we will have beers and we will have hangs because we have way too much history together.
Oh yeah. Well, you never know when all of a sudden I'm going to show up somewhere like I did.
Dude, that happens all the time. Let's talk about the serendipity of these gigs. Like I'm going to be on a gig and I'm going to look over to my left and go, "Who's the sound guy today?"
Well, it's been great talking with you, and I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
Your
Thank
time.
you for having me. This has been an absolute blast. Hope to do it again.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
So that was Greg Rapp, my good buddy Greg Rapp, and good friend. And he had some interesting stuff there. I mean, he is the go-to guy.
He is, man. And he's talking about, he sits down, he starts writing charts for all this stuff, trying to get, these songs down. And he's kind of a perfectionist. It sounds like he really wants it to be right. And he's got, I thought of something that he should come up with. You know how the quarterbacks got that thing on their wrist with all the plays?
There you go.
He could have one of those for all his charts. He could put all the stuff in there for the different songs that he's unfamiliar with.
That's a great idea.
Or I can come up with it and
you should market it.
I could market it. You could market it. We could all market it. We could be millionaires.
Yeah.
We could be the next Jeff Bezos.
Or who's the Tesla guy?
Oh, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Right.
But Greg's got some great stories. He's played with a ton of people. He knows a ton of people.
Yeah, yes, he does. And the list is pretty much endless. But it was fun talking with Greg, and go check out his Facebook page, please, and find out where he'll be playing. He's a good guy. Tell him that you heard when you go see him. Tell him that you heard all about him on the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
That's right, episode 89.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks to GHS, and thanks to the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 in Joliet. And thanks to all of you for listening today. And be sure and subscribe, and don't miss a single podcast.
And thank you, Paul. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks, Ray. No problem. Thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem. I was in the neighborhood.
Good. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks. See you next week.
Bye.
The Rock and Roll Chicago podcast does not own the rights to any of the music that's played on this podcast.
The music is used to promote the band or musicians that are interviewed.
Rock and roll Chicago.